Today is a important parva. So the combination of Sravana Masam, Mula Nakshatram, Bhanuvaram and Putrada Ekadasi, Suklapaksha Ekadasi. So it is known as Avani Moolam on one side, then based on the nakshatram and month, sun position and star, and moon position Ekadasi in the month of Sravana Masa. So tomorrow is Damodara Dwadasi, also a important parva. So Sravana Masa is predominantly dedicated for listening to the Sastras. Sastra Sravanam. Sastra Adhyayanam, Sastra Sravanam. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about few important aspects based on my listening to myself on the Sadasiva Brahmendra's Yoga Sudhakaram. So the Yoga Sudhakara is a bhashya of Patanjali Yoga Sastram, Yoga Sutras by Sadasiva Brahmendra. Pranating Gurmaha Sadasivendraya. Sadguru Sadasiva Brahmendra Saraswati made a lot of works. He has commented on Brahma Sutras. He has commented on, he has written several Kirtanas. He has also commented on Yoga Sutra. So why is it important, the Yoga Sastra, Yoga and Sankhya? So basically there are 6 darsanas. These darsanas provide means to know something that is beyond the ability of natural human perception and inference. Human beings have everybody agrees that there are 2 primary capabilities of human mind which it can perceive various things, the material world outside, and it has an ability to do the logic, inductive and deductive logic inference with the mind. So these are the standard functions and capabilities of human mind. But there is something beyond the standard perception and inferencing abilities of human mind. What is that something? That something is known as transcendental knowledge, or that is which is beyond the scope of regular experience. So there are rishis who have mastered the Chitti Shakti, or the consciousness, the basis of all these conscious functions, taking it to the transcendental layer and experience or validate experience that transcendental knowledge and assimilated it into Vedas, Shastras, everything. So for the sake of today's discussion on the Yoga Sudhakara, the core point, or why we should listen to or try to understand the point of view or of a realized person, a siddha, rather than a usual language based scholar. So, what happens? These Sastras have been attempted to be translated, explained, briefed by various type of people with multiple types of agendas. Why? What are these agendas? Either they wanted to prove a point, saying that this is my viewpoint, and establish that viewpoint. It is one type of agenda, or they have to prove their viewpoint, but use an opponent Sastra or whatever, an opposing viewpoint, and condemn it. That is the second method people used, saying that I take this, but I don't accept with this, and build my own logic on top of it. So, because of this, the Sastras have got multiple explanations on them. So, Yoga Sastra, Yoga Sutra has been commented by several authors, including some sages like Bhoja, then Bhava Ganesha, Nagoji Bhatta. All these are different people of different times they have commented. But what happens is the best of it are, if we wanted to understand the Yoga Sastra, it need to be authentically yogi. A yogi who has given an explanation for his disciples, that will be the best thing. So who is such a yogi is Vyasa Bhashya is there. For that Vyasa Bhashya, Shankara Bhagavad has given a Vivarana. So Patanjali Maharshi's Yoga Sutra has got a Vyasa Bhashya and it has got a Vivarana. Means explanation of the Bhashya by Shankaracharya. Vyasa is a yogi, Shankaracharya is also a yogi, Mahayogi. So, their explanations, but what they have tried doing, the Bhashya, Vyasa Bhashya and Shankara, at the time of Shankara, Shankara's explanations focused on clearing all the objections. So, what we see is the sutra will be there. For that sutra, the explanation will be given by the Vyasa Bhashya. So, for that Vyasa Bhashya, Vivarana will base on what are all the possible opposing thoughts or opposing arguments that can develop. And those oppositions are placed by Shankara himself. He places, okay, if you say Uchyate, if you say it, if it is like this, then he goes and tells why that opposition will not stand, and he will conclude what is the right way of understanding the Yoga Sastra and move forward. Because of it, the Vivarana has become lengthy. Lengthy means there are a lot of questions have been answered. But for a modern educated person like me, for example, if I have to get the Sastra right, what I have to follow is not too far away a yogi, a siddha, we have to take and pick up that bhashya. So, Yoga Sudhakara makes it, Sadashiva Brahmendra is only 270 years old in the sense, not too far in the history, but he is an accomplished siddha, accomplished yogi. who has achieved the goals by practicing yoga. What is the goal of practicing yoga? The very beginning of the Samadhi pada. So basically, Yoga Sastra has four padas. Everybody knows. People who have basic study into the Yoga Sastra also will know. But just for the overview sake, we have a Samadhi pada, which describes the purpose of Yoga Sastra. What is Samadhi and how to achieve it? That is the Samadhi pada. Then there is a Sadhana pada. Whatever is given in Samadhi pada cannot be achieved by those direct means Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Nirodha. So basically, Abhyasa and Vairagya are explained in the Samadhi pada of the Yoga Sutras. Then in the second pada, which is Sadhana pada, Kriya Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga have been described for the sake of the sadhakas who cannot directly achieve the Samadhi by the means provided in the first pada. Then there are two pada. There are external limbs of 8 Ashtangas, of 8 Angas. The 5 Angas are external limbs which can be assisted by somebody outside or a thing outside or stuff like that. And there are 3 limbs which are Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhis, which are described in the Vibhuti pada. So having reached that stage, that 3 put together, it is called Samyama. And that Samyama, when practiced in various ways, multiple Vibhutis are attained, and finally the Kaivalya pada, final result, what is achieved by doing all these things, 4 padas have been described there. So what happens when purely scholars explaining the Sastra? Sastra has too many technical words or too much of terminology. That terminology cannot be defined purely by the grammar. Grammatically, what it means is what it means. There is a word, the word meaning is there. But what actually it means in this given context of Yoga Sastra cannot be explained by purely a scholar who is explaining this Sastra for the sake of language-based explanation. So what happens is that explanation creates more confusion to a seeker, actual seeker, than clarity. So it is better to always approach a guru, a realized sage siddha, who has correctly understood, practiced, validated the Shastra, for learning that Shastra as a guide, rather than depending on purely the books or self-study. Because even in the worldly jnana, to achieve a doctoral degree, an individual needs a guide. Without a guide, nobody will achieve a doctoral degree. You mandatorily need to have a guide. So for this kind of Shastra, which is taking the Chittisekti, the capability of consciousness, which seems to be embodied in a body within the Prakriti, to elevate it beyond the Prakriti to the Purusha, or the pure consciousness, pureness of that Purusha. There are various levels based on the capability, based on the eligibility, capability of the seeker. There are multiple methods. But the outcome is definitely proven. Only when outcome is achieved, that is a siddhi. Okay, with that, we'll take a quick look, whatever my study, there are few points that need to be highlighted. specifically on the aspects like what is samadhi, how that samadhi is achieved, what is the abhyasa. So we'll go backwards. So basically, nirbija samadhi is something, means seedless samadhi is something the final goal. So having controlled all the temporary transformations of that chit Shakti, removing all the seeds of those transformations, one reaches a stage of nirbija samadhi, asamprajnata samadhi. That is what is called asamprajnata samadhi. So before that there is samprajnata samadhi. Samprajnata samadhi is again separated by savitarka, savichara, sananda, sasmita, along with asmita, ananda, vitarka, vichara. One of these components, one of these mental movements, but achieving the transcendence. So basically, achieving transcendence has to be, he is in two primary layers. Asamprajnata samadhi, nirbija samadhi. Without seeds of any further transformations, is the final goal of yoga samadhi. What is yoga samadhi? Is going to a stage of pure chit Shakti, which is in Sankhya Sastra that is given Purusha. Purusha who is purely sattvic or even gunatita, of whatever going or crossing over, rising over the gunas. That is the final goal of asamprajnata samadhi. So asamprajnata samadhi or nirbija samadhi comes from, means sutra, there are 51 sutras in this samadhi pada. So 51st sutra says, tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhan nirbijah samadhi. So that is what we have discussed. So even that, so to come to that, there is a prajna, samprajnata, asamprajnata. We are talking about prajna, a state of knowledge or wisdom that is being discussed. So if we come few sutras backwards, 48th sutra says Rutambhara Tatra Prajna. So there is a Prajna which is Rutambhara Prajna. This Rutambhara Prajna is the Prajna achieved by those who reach to that stage, which can hold the reality as is without any transformations, modifications, or imaginations on top of it. That is the Rutambhara Prajna. So many purely scholarly translators will not be able to explain what is this Rutambhara Prajna. How this Rutambhara Prajna is achieved is by something called para vairagya. So this is to be linked to the 16th sutra. So 16th sutra talking about tat param purushakyater guna vaitrishnam. There is a phrase put, guna vaitrishnam. Okay, that is vairagya on gunas, guna vaitrishnam, param. Before that, 15th, drashtanusravika vishaya vitrushnasya vasikara sanya vairagyam. So the definition of vairagya. How this is linked to the previous sutra is on the 12th sutra, Patanjali Maharshi says, Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. That is controlled. What is that? We will come to that because we are reading backwards. That is controlled by abhyasa and vairagya. Same thing, Yogacharya, our Jagat Guru, Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Abhyasa and Vairagya are the means to achieve the equanimity of the mind or yoga. So that is yoga. So we have come to, so what is being Nirodha is, there are chitta vrittis. There are 5 chitta vrittayaha, panchatayaha, klishta, aklishta. What are they? Pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, smrutayaha. There are 5 functions. So why they need to be controlled is, that is the yoga chitta vritti nirodha, the second sutra. Third sutra, tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. The word need to be remembered is swarupa avasthanam. So finally what is happening? Chitta has a natural tendency of, otherwise what will happen? Vritti samanyam itaratra. So Patanjali's Samadhipada. Patanjali is describing yoga. Maharshi. He is a Maharshi. He has, before that, how Patanjali has got this? Has he created this Sastra? No. There is a Shiva Sutras which are there much before. There are, the yoga is there much before. There is a Hiranyagarbha Sastra, there is a Yajnavalkya Sastra. Sutras, it looks like they are now not available, but Patanjali Maharshi has compiled all these things, revalidated, structured it into these 4 padas and put the sutras. So now going forward with this a bit of description from Sadasiva Brahmendra's Yoga Sudhakaram. Now try to understand what is this process. So what happens? Yoga is controlling or restraining the chitta vrittis. What are these chitta vrittis? Rightly understanding, perceiving and inferring things, which is the pramana. Then there are viparyayas, wrong understanding, wrong interpretation of things. Vikalpa, without any real subject being there, purely imagining based on the previous pieces of knowledge that exist in the mind or chitta. So chitta is a combination of mind, memory, processing power and the storage power, both put together. We will consider the... So what happens, these 5 chitta vrittis, mind assumes the rupa or the form of that vritti, of that function, rather than remains in it pure original state. So mind has been in this habit of taking the form or assuming the form of the chitta vritti. So vritti sarupyam itaratra. So otherwise what mind will do? Mind will what naturally doing is vritti sarupyam. It takes the form of the function. But tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So why we have to control the vrittis is to realize or put the chit shakti, put the mind into its original true form, swarupa, in true form, with the true form, aligning it with true form, keeping it in it with true form. So rupe avasthanam. So then there is a description of what are those pratyaksha anumana sabda or the agama or the pramanas. It will go, what are the pramanas, what is viparyaya, what is everything. But abhyasa vairagya abhyanta nirodha. So basically practicing it to keep it in its swaswarupa is the abhyasa. Tatra sthito yatno abhyasa. So keeping it in its original state, not getting into any of the functional forms of the mind is the abhyasa. But abhyasa alone is not sufficient. Abhyasa need to be always put together with vairagya. So this vairagya is of 2 types. Drashtanusravi. See, whatever is seen or heard. Seen is pancha bhautika prapancham. So, what we see, different things of enjoyment, suffering, all those things are there. Those enjoyments and sufferings are enjoyed and suffered by the mind, and they are attributed to the Purusha. So yeah, they are attributed to the Jiva or the Purusha, or the pure consciousness is enjoying suffering. So Vairagya is something to give up attachment to these Vishayas. Vishayas are external things. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Means five sensory impulses that are acquired by the senses and passed on to the mind or the chitta. Vitrushna or Trishna is keep on doing, repeatedly doing it. Okay, what naturally comes to the chitta means that is coming to the eye, we will see, coming to the hearing. Doing that is not the problem, that is the natural function of it. But going out and keep on doing the same thing is Trishna. That Vitrushna, removing the tendency of that Trishna of five Panchabhuta, Panchatanmatra, Panchendriya vrittis is Vairagya. The first level Vairagya. So what is Para Vairagya is Guna Vaitrushnyam. So that is the 16th. Tatparam Purushakhyate Guna Vaitrushnyam. Understanding or the Vitrushna or detachment from the qualities. Why this Chittam is going after Vishayas? Because these Vishayas are endowed with the qualities. What qualities? Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas. So some take the Rajoguna to be attractive, some take Tamoguna to be attractive, some take Sattvaguna to be attractive, of which beyond Tamoguna, Rajoguna, Sattvaguna is better, but Sattvaguna also need to be given up. Means all the gunas need to be given up for the Paravairagya. By that Paravairagya, what will happen? So Abhyasa and Vairagya, when practiced, so then also Iswara Pranadhanam. So there is a method. So with all these Abhyasa or beyond Abhyasa, there is an Iswara Pranadhanascha, 23rd Sutra. Gives again the surrender to the Supreme Iswara, Lord, who gives the karma phalas. That also leads to this chitta to be taken out of vrittis and kept in its own true form. Then it goes on. So what is this Ratambhara Prajna? Ratambhara means which takes, so by doing the Abhyasa, by doing the Savitarka, Savichara, Sasmita, Sananda, Samprajnata Samadhis on various aspects of the Prakriti, as the gross elements, subtle gunas, beyond that universals of Mahattattva, Ahankara, Mahattattva, Pradhana. Finally the Pradhana. On that Pradhana to go beyond, that is Purusha. Once the complete purity of Pradhana is achieved, Purusha is realized. So Purusha, the Pradhana Purusha, that Chit Jada Grandhi is removed, and finally Purusha remains in his true forms, which is the pure true form of that Chit Shakti. Chit remains as Chit, not in Chitta Vritti. So that Prajna, Ratambhara Prajna, is actually being able to see or hold on to the transcendence. That's the thing. But what generally the scholars explain is that is a prajna which will come see the hidden things or somewhere far away things, nothing like that. There is nothing far away, there is nothing hidden, etc. Ratambhara Prajna or the Rishis Prajna is the result, direct result of Paravairagyam, means Gunavaitrushnyam. So, gunas, having crossed over the attachment to all the three gunas, the Chit Shakti gets this extraordinary capacity to hold the reality as real. So only one who has achieved that, who has achieved the asamprajnata samadhi, thereby nirbija samadhi, can explain this. So with this explanation, so the thread connecting, so how you can connect this thread is only by actually listening to a realized person like my guru who is behind me. So who have explained this, saying that, who have explained it, saying that thinking this is some siddhi, thinking some extra sensory perception is some siddhi, or something very simple is to be understood as something very complex, or seeing some light, seeing something as a siddhi or yoga, this thing, it is only a prana shakti's movement when it is understood. So there is a chitta and prana, there are two shaktis. All the motor energy which is running this physical body is known as prana. All the conscious energy which is running the mind is called the chit shakti. Chit and prana are the same point they arise from. Both have the same origin, which is the supreme transcendental energy form, or whatever it is. From the prana, through the prana, there are pranayama methods, and that is covered by in the second pada of sadhana pada of same yoga sastra is available. But today's focus is more of chit pradhanya, means samadhi pradhanya, direct means of samadhi is being described. So that is chit shakti as the central theme. So again, finally, the conclusive statement, or what I wanted to record today for my own sake, is to always approach the original Shastra, a realized Guru's explanation, direct listening to it. All the three are essential to understand or comprehend the Shastra correctly. Otherwise, Shastra will be misinterpreted or incorrectly understood. So, any incorrect understanding of the Shastra will not give prosperity or the right results. The right result is only achieved by correct understanding of the Shastra. With that, pranatim kurmaha Sadasivendraya. Sadasivendra Brahma has been introduced to me by my Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya. Swasti. Remembering the Gurus, remembering the great yogis who have achieved the highest samadhi with Ratambhara Prajna and Paravairagya with Abhyasa, and who taught the Yoga Sastra in its true essence to the disciples. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya.